Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Oklahoma City Planning Commission for October 12th. And for those of you who are here with us for the first time, if you would shut your phones off, that would be most helpful. We'll start there. How this works, we have a little housekeeping to do at the beginning, but when we get to items requiring separate votes, we'll call the item, the applicant will come forward, they'll tell us what it is that they're here seeking. There may be some questions from the commission. If other people are here that want to speak on the item, they'll be asked to do so. Then we'll have a discussion, a motion, and a vote. So if you're here to address an item, kind of keep your comments short and sweet if you can, and address them to us. The first thing we need to do, we have a new planning commissioner with us today. Michael Privet is here representing Ward 4. He is, I say, a lifelong resident of Oklahoma City. If you've been here since you were 3, I think that's lifelong.
I was born here.
There you go.
I left it 3 years.
He's in the oil and gas business, father of 3, which I think is great, graduate of Neighborhood Alliance's leadership program, small business owner, and the president of his HOA, so I think he's going to be a wonderful addition. Welcome aboard. The first thing we'll do today is receive our minutes from the September 28th meeting of the Planning Commission.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second to receive the minutes of the September 28th, 2017 meeting. If you would cast your votes, please. They are received. Next item is uncontested requests for continuance.
We received 3 requests to withdraw cases on the agenda. It's item B16 for case SPUD 1013, item B17 for C6920, and item B18 for SPUD 1000.
We don't need to do these separately. We can do these in a group, right? Yes. Okay. I'm
So move.
second.
I have a motion and a second to withdraw items 16, 17, and 18. If you would cast your votes, please. They are withdrawn. I'm sorry. Next are new requests for continuance.
And we received 1 new request for continuance for case B11 on the agenda for SPUD 1002 to defer that item to October 26th meeting.
So move.
Is
Do I have a second?
there anybody here that wants, by chance, that was a late continuance? So
Is there anyone here who wants to be heard on item number 11? It's SPUD 1002, a rezoning request at 87th and South Penn.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second to continue item number 11 until, I'm sorry, when?
October 26th.
Until October 26th. Would you cast your votes, please? It is continued. Next, we have our consent agenda.
All right, we have 5 items on consent, which I'll read for the record. Item 1 is case CE 963 to close an easement north of Chicago Street between Northwest 36th and Northwest 38th. Item 2 is CE 964 to close 150 feet of street at 109 Northeast 40th Street. Item 3 is PC 10509 to rezone 3029 Rival Avenue. Item 4 is case C6934, a replat of the drainage common area of Palermo Place, Section 1. And item 5 is PV 100 to vacate a portion of the final plat of Prairie Wind Addition.
So move.
I'll second.
Second the consent, move the motion to move the consent document.
Thank you. I'm going to pull item number 4 off the consent agenda. One of the engineers had a question to me that I can't answer about it, so I'm going to ask him to come, if he will. Curtis, if you'll come speak to us, please, about that. Let's do items 1 through 3. Is there anybody here today that thinks that they have to address any of those items on the consent agenda? The fact that they're on the consent agenda means that we're about to approve them, so.
I'm here on item 4.
Oh, okay. Well, then maybe we don't have to. Curtis had some concern or question about whether they had the easement that they needed for something on this. Do you know what that is?
No, I don't believe so. This was labeled as common area for...
We'll have him come tell
drainage.
us. I'm sorry, Curtis. This is an item that's on the consent agenda, so if there's something that we need to get on the record, I just want to make sure we didn't let our chance go by here.
Curtis Liggins, Public Works. Just so we could add a TE that all the engineering requirements would be made. Some of the drainage area that's going to be included within the original plat needs to be excluded. It's really not the city, it shouldn't be the city's responsibility.
I do think we have that.
Yes, we agree
So,
with that.
okay, all right. So we're back to all 4, items 1 through 4. Is there anybody here who thinks they want to be heard on any of these items? No.
If
1
Gary
through
will
5,
move,
actually.
If Gary will move the consent docket with the additional TE for item 4,
It's here.
it's already there?
It's here.
Oh, okay. So,
I move the
The consent.
second motion.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second to move items 1 through 5. Would you cast your votes for us, please? Thank you. They are approved. On to items requiring separate votes.
Okay, the first item, item number 6, is ABC 902, which is an ABC 2 overlay of the C3 CUP 21A Permit SP 489 districts located at 2563 West Memorial Road.
Brandon Kuhn with you at Zollers, representing the applicant. We were here a month ago where we had asked for the ABC to be over the entire site, and you guys asked us to refine some of those areas, so we've limited it to the pool deck, a little portion of the outdoor tennis. There will be a bar in the indoor tennis, and also the Life Cafe inside.
I had one question. Can you identify where the Life Cafe is?
Sure, it's basically right in the middle.
Is that
Right
right
there.
there? Is
Yeah.
that by the entryway?
Yes,
Okay.
And this giant piece over here is the pool deck.
correct.
I tell you, 64,000 square feet of ABC3 makes me really nervous, ABC2. Is it possible for us to tie, well, I guess it is in a way, isn't it? I was going to say to tie it to
We
the,
made a 72% reduction. Right. That's what you should have let off.
to tie it to the use of the fitness club. Is it possible to do that?
yes.
Would you be willing to
Yeah,
do that?
we're willing to say that the use
That would make me
it would
just
go
a
away if the
lot
use-
less
Sure.
nervous about 64,000 square feet. So let's make that an TE, that the ABC2 use is tied to the fitness club.
Well, it's just a straight zoning, so you really can't add a condition. There aren't any Ts to it.
Okay. Okay. As Scott pointed out, it's a 72% reduction.
64,000 is what we got. We can't change, make that conditional, right, Dan? That what you said? Okay, good. That's fine.
So we cannot condition it?
No,
Is that the agreement?
That's right, we cannot.
we cannot.
Let me ask before I call for a motion, is there anybody else here today that wants to be heard on this matter? No?
I'll make a motion to approve the application.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item number 6. Cast your votes, please.
Ooh, I threw that.
It is approved.
Item 7 is ABC 908 for an ABC3 overlay of the BC district at 409 East California Avenue.
Is the applicant present? Shall we put it to the end of the docket and see if that person arrives?
Very well. And item 8 would be CE 959 to close 15.7 feet of street right-of-way located on the east side of North Blackwelder Avenue between Northwest 15th and 16th Street.
Good afternoon, David Box, 522 Colquitt Drive, here on
David,
behalf of...
before you start, sorry. The applicant is a current client of mine, so I will be recusing myself from this item.
Now,
I'll let him.
he can make it to the door pretty quick.
Okay. Again, David Box, 522 Colquitt Drive, here on behalf of the applicant, Mr. Struble, who is also here. This application would close 15.7 feet of the right-of-way to allow my client to build at his cost some parking along Blackwelder. What he will gain out of this is 14 spaces for cars, 7 spaces for motorcycle. If anyone has gone to the plaza or spent any time in the plaza, you know perhaps the biggest challenge in going to the plaza is finding somewhere to actually park your car. This is going to provide some much-needed relief to the parking problem. And in addition, if you are familiar with this area right now, there's virtually no connection with sidewalks. There's no way to really walk safely from south to north. So you can see we've got trees, sidewalks, so it's going to increase the walkability, start bringing people up from the north on a sidewalk. So we believe it's a step in the right direction in a district that is in much need of parking. So I'd be happy to answer any questions and ask for your approval. There are no TEs.
It's not entirely clear, maybe it's just not a very good drawing. The parking in this strip is intended to be like nose-in parking, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And has that been to Traffic Commission and been approved by them, the nose-in piece of it?
I believe so, yes.
I think they said that, report said that they'd approved a portion of it, right, for the nose-in. Is that the way I read this, or has it all been approved?
So I understand it all has been. Okay. If there was some piece left, we'd be happy to go back if we had to, but my understanding is it's all been approved.
And so there actually was a suggestion that we needed to add a TE on this.
Yes, and I think it was needing to do with keeping the sight triangles clear at each intersection.
At 16th and 15th.
Who did that come from?
Request of traffic management that we retain a sight triangle at the two intersections.
So nothing's happening, I mean, at the intersection of 16th and Blackwelder, it's an existing building and there are existing trees, and there's nothing happening down here at 15th and Blackwelder other than, I mean, you'll see some landscaping and the parking, so I'm not...
The closing goes all the way to the corner, though.
We wouldn't take in any structures that would make them non-conforming. We'd just retain the two corners where sight triangle would be.
So what we'll do is we'll get with staff between now and council. This does have to go to council. I'm a bit surprised at the late timing that they waited till now, but whatever it is, we'll meet with them between now and city council. And,
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, okay.
But I'm not sure what
they
they're
would have to do that in any event,
Sure.
wouldn't they, when they pulled their permits, and they'd have to clear
It will be
sight
resolved
triangles.
at some point.
Okay. Between now and council.
Between now and council.
Is there anybody else present who wants to be heard on this matter? Oh, you know what? Did fire have also a concern that?
Yes, and I think that the site plan does demonstrate something that fire brought up, which was access through the parking to the buildings and structures. And you had briefly touched on that through, there's some open space and access points for pedestrians or for people that cross the street to get through into the site. And if anybody back in the back room from fire has questions and they want to come out and address that to see if it satisfies it, then now might be a good time.
How will fire take access? Show us.
Well, I guess it depends on where they want to go. I mean, you could get into the parking lot here.
Well, the buildings are, I think, the principal concern, although maybe the buildings behind as well. I don't know. They would dig access from the street, I would think.
I've not been, trained or educated in the arts of fire safety, but my belief would be if they were going to service these buildings, they would do it from the public street here. Oh, Here we go.
There we go, sorry.
Mike Ersmendis, Fire Department. The only concern we had was that is just as it develops that we maintain access off of Blackwater up to any developments that you are doing, any buildings, so we can get to it.
Okay. So, everybody's happy? We'll get this language worked out between now and council.
Yes, ma'am.
There wasn't anybody else who wanted to be heard? Do I have a motion?
Move approval. Second motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve item number 8. Would you cast your votes, please? It is approved.
Thank you.
Item number 9 is C-6932, the preliminary plat of Cheek Ranch. This also does require a variance to the subdivision regulations.
The applicant present?
Good afternoon, Mark Grubbs, 1819 South Morgan Road. On behalf of the applicant, what you have before you today is preliminary plat that meets the R1 zoning. This is a larger lot layout. The lots are between 75 and 85 feet. Instead of 50 feet is allowed in R1. It meets the intent of the comp plan. We reserved the existing pond areas, open space, and we are asking for a variance to T3. We believe that it's a slightly longer cul-de-sac. We believe that it makes a better layout, doesn't allow the connection through, so you don't have a raceway.
Which one is it that is the, yeah?
We don't know where.
Oh, I'm sorry. At the very south end of the property, it's you see the cul-de-sac that's,
East to west, right there where it says
Yes.
subject 68.21 acres.
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all right.
If you connect that through, it just allows for a longer street there. So we believe it makes a better layout there. Because the lots are wider, you do have fewer lots on that cul-de-sac. So on number 6, we've spoken with staff regarding that, and we just asked that the verbiage be amended to be what's in the staff report on page 8, where it says limits of no access should be marked for all lots adjacent to Britton Road. It says Western, but that should be corrected to Mustang Road, where access can be taken directly off a local street within the subdivision. Staff was agreeable to that. We agreed to the rest of the T's.
And that's to sub to, you're substituting that language for item number 6?
6, the limits of no access.
Yeah, it says limits of no access must be provided along the section line road on the final plat.
Okay.
But in the staff report, we believe it states it how it should be stated in the TE,
Okay.
with the exception of it's Mustang Road, not Western.
So the big question I had was why you didn't redesign it to eliminate the cul-de-sac, but that was purposeful. You did it to keep the.
I don't want the through street there.
Okay.
And, I mean, your entrance is, because we're retaining the open areas in the front, how the entrance comes in between those, it just makes sense for the layout there.
Okay. Is there anybody in here that wants to be heard on this matter? Commissioners, I have comments, questions, concerns?
I don't have any. The rest of the TEs, other than 6, you agree with, and you need a variance on 3. Is that right, Mark?
That's correct.
Okay, because I am in favor of that layout, actually, because I think it will benefit us for the racetrack effect there. Because does that hook to the east, too? Would that road ultimately hook to the 90th? Does it connect to the east down at the bottom there?
Yeah, we have a stub to the property to the east.
Yeah. So if it were not a cul-de-sac, it would significantly increase, I think, speed along there. So, okay. That being said,
I've got one question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Asa.
I actually wanted to ask it of Aubrey. In issues like this, where we are worried about racetrack roads, and the answer is inevitably cul-de-sacs, what other options are available?
Well, and Mark could probably answer this too. Curving a street, undulating it, narrowing it, parking along it. There are all kinds of traffic calming engineering solutions to the long, straight track, which encourages people to speed.
Are those the solutions that the city prefers?
You probably weren't a part of our previous Traffic Commission, Planning Commission study session, but Traffic Commission is undertaking a study of traffic calming measures, and so they're getting to the point where they're ready to meet, hopefully to discuss those with the Traffic Commission and hopefully Planning Commission as well.
Is that
So,
something that will then be codified in some way?
I think that their intent is that they can produce some different types of design solutions and approaches that the city would be able to accept, and then those would become a part of the repertoire that engineers can apply to development. So, yeah, those discussions have been happening, and I think some engineers have tried to do different types of things that traffic does and doesn't prefer, and then you end up having to come back with a speed table or a speed hump, which is not the preferable way of slowing traffic down.
Okay, anybody else?
So do I have a motion on the variance?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the variance to TE number 3.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the variance, TE number 3. Would you cast your votes, please? It's
Make a motion.
approved.
Make a motion to approve the application, changing the language in TE 6 to reflect that on page 8, second full paragraph down, about limits of no access.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item number 9 with the change to the language of TE number 6. Would you cast your votes, please?
Thank you.
It is approved.
Item 10 is PUD 1653 to rezone 722 Northwest 68th from R1 to PUD 1653.
Good afternoon, David Box, 522 Colcord Drive. Here on behalf of the applicant, also with me is Philip Farha. This is an application that it's a bit odd in that it spans not only 2 different wards, but if you look at the map in front of you, it spans across several different smaller parcels. My client owns several pieces of property in this area, so his intent is to assemble these pieces as well. So what we've done in order to accomplish that is provided a PUD that will encumber these parcels. We've gone with a base of 02. We have worked with Chairman Powers on some of the uses and additionally some of the language to add, all of which we have agreed to do. Some of the concerns dealt with how are we going to handle signage. Because of the odd nature of these parcels, we are going to come back for a specific plan. So what we've agreed to do is limit the signs to 8 feet, but the exact location of the signs will be handled at the specific plan stage. And then additionally, the location of various access points will likewise be handled at the specific plan stage. The benefit, perhaps, the Planning Commission gets in that is when you look at these pieces, it's likely that the development itself will be much larger than just these pieces and will actually span on property that is zoned pursuant to the straight zoning that exists out there. So you're going to get a chance to see a parcel or pieces of parcels that otherwise you wouldn't have been able to see through the specific plan stage. So with that, there is one TE that we agree to. I'm not aware of any protests. We ask for your approval.
Commissioners, I did want just to draw your attention to the issue of the sign. It's not unusual for us to have language in a PUD or an SPUD that indicates that a sign in any location within the PUD is an accessory sign, even if it's not on the same tract or lot as the use that it is advertising. In this case, though, if you look at your map, you can see that there's, for instance, a piece of property way up here that I don't think would necessarily be an appropriate location for a sign for a use way down here. So we'll have a chance to review that again when it comes to us for a specific plan, but I just wanted us to kind of be aware that this is just a very unusual situation and that we'll have to look at it with a little closer eye when it does come to us. The other thing that we talked about just before the meeting, I'm sorry, and I ran out of time to come out and find you and talk to you about it, is the idea of the parking lot as an accessory use or as a principal use. I think we want to add a TE or something. That, again, is something that we're going to look at specific plan stage. And I think if we added just some verbiage, if we eliminated it as a principal use, which is, I think, the only thing we can do, or one of you tell me, which is if it would be possible to leave it as a use, but add language that all parking must indicate to which use or uses it is accessory at the time of specific plan stage.
I'd be agreeable with that. What I've added in the most current version is next to the use, automotive parking lots as the principal use, I've added in parentheses, however, the parking lot must be an accessory use to a principal use within this PUD or adjoining property. So the issue is perhaps the parking lot would fit within one of those blue pieces you see. So strict interpretation of it, it may be a principal use just within the four corners of that property, but it's adjacent and touching the building next door that it's actually intended to serve. So I think with my language, and we're fine with addressing it at the specific plan as well, you avoid those problems.
We good with that? Okay. Okay, so we're just going to add it like as a little asterisk next to the principal use.
Yeah, and I have done that. And
Okay, all right. Is there anybody here today that wants to be heard on this item? Yes, there is. I can't read that. Mr. Oldham? Is there a Mr. Oldham here? Yes. Did you have something you wanted to tell us about this? Well, I live there. Come forward, please. Give us your name and address for the record.
My name is Ray Oldham, and my address is 814 Northwest 65th. I am in the reddish area there, kind of surrounded by all the blue. And in the years I've been there, pretty much with few exceptions, all the improvements have been done by commercial development. And this area is not really conducive for families or a conventional neighborhood, so any commercial development, I think, would be beneficial to the neighborhood.
Well, I think that's what you're going to get.
So I support it.
Okay, great. Anybody else? No? Do I have a motion?
So do we need to, are we adding a TE, or is the language just being incorporated as, I mean, we agree there's been an amendment?
Yes.
Essentially.
I think that it's already been submitted. It's not reflected in our packet because it's been done since then.
Got it. I'll make a motion to approve the application if there's no more discussion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the application as amended. You'll cast your votes, please. It is approved.
Item 11 was continued. Item 12 is SPUD 1011 to rezone 300 South Rockwell Avenue from PUD 726 to SPUD 1011.
Good afternoon, Aaron Brewster, 1621 18th Street in Denver. Back again, we were here a few weeks ago. The request of the commission was to make some improvements to the application, further clarifying the uses and restrictions, which we've done, looking to get the high-impact institutional approved along with a few others, handful of others, and looking for that approval today.
I want to just be really clear with staff. The staff report reflects the current application.
Yes, this is the latest version of their PUD.
Okay. Is there anybody else here that wants to be heard on this item today? Commissioners?
I move approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item number 12. Would you cast your votes, please? It is approved.
Thank you.
Item number 13 is C6929, the final plat of Ponderosa Estates, Phase 4.
Good afternoon. Kendall Dillon with Craft and Toll, representing the applicant. And this is the final plat of Ponderosa Phase 4, which will complete the addition. If you all recall, this plat was before you about a month ago, at which time it was deferred, obviously, to today. And most of the issue was concerning an existing trail that was located on the east side of the plat, the west side of what's considered to be the South Pond. And if you remember, originally that trail was going to come out with the development of this phase. However, since the last meeting, our client has met with the HOA. They've reached an agreement that the trail, portions of it will remain where it's at. The other portions will be removed and reconstructed, so the end result will be that there will be a trail that traverses the west side of the South Pond, and it will remain. So I think with that, it's my understanding that there's kind of been an agreement with the HOA and a developer. I think we have 2 TEs which we're in agreement with, and we'd ask for your approval.
I do have one person who has signed up to speak. Aaron Tidwell.
That is a compromise. That was a compromise.
Would you come forward? Would you come forward, please, and give us your name and address for the record?
Aaron Tidwell, 12400 Stonecrest Lane. And that was a good compromise. We did meet.
So you're satisfied with the...
We are.
Okay.
We are. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners?
I want to compliment the applicant in this situation. I had some pretty extensive dialogue back and forth while it was ongoing, and I think did a great job of trying to make sure the outreach was with the neighbors was there, and that everyone was satisfied. I think that says a lot. So I definitely support the application and make a motion for approval if there's no additional discussion.
Second the motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve item number 13. Would you cast your votes, please? It is approved.
Item 14 is PUD 1651 to rezone 15100 North MacArthur Boulevard from AA and R1 to PUD 1651.
Again, David Box, 522 Colcord Drive. This is an application that we continued several times. Part of the reason was we had an individual that lived to the south of us that had voiced some concerns. They retained Ami Swank and Eric Groves. Ami is here today with us, so what we did was we sat down with the neighbor, worked through some of the issues, and ultimately came up with an agreement that satisfied all parties. What you have before you is a PUD that has various tracts. We've got 4 tracts within the PUD. You've got a commercial tract in the corner, an office tract, which is reflected as tract 3 to the east of the hard corner tract, tract 2, which is an interior tract that right now we show as assisted living, and then ultimately behind it you've got an R1 tract. A big chunk of this is already zoned R1, so we included it in the PUD, and the benefit of that for the city is we have now some standards for architectural requirements as well as lot sizes, so there is a trade there that the city is getting something better than what could be built today. One of the concerns that the neighbor had was the ability to have a vehicular connection point through the office tract. His home is south of us on a fairly sizable pond, and he was concerned with the amount of traffic that might come from a residential neighborhood. By the time he's home at night, there would be significant light that would shine into his home. So what we've done is we've created a pedestrian-only connection to the office, and that ultimately satisfied him. Ms. Swank is here to answer any questions you might have. We did meet with Commissioner Highsmith yesterday. One of his concerns were all of the boulevard entries that we have. What we've agreed to do is limit Track 3 and Track 1 to no more than 2 of the divided access boulevard entries. So I have made that change in the PUD and submitted it to staff and included Commissioner Highsmith on that as well. With that...
to be clear, no more than 2 in each tract or no more than 2 total?
No more than 2 of the divided entry boulevard within Tracks 1 and 3.
Again, total or within each one? 2 in
No,
each?
yeah, total.
Total, okay.
Along 150th
Okay.
of the divided type. So with that, there are, I believe, just 2 TEs, both of which we agree to. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
And why are we only getting a specific plan on track number 1?
My apologies. We are agreeing to come back with a specific plan on 1 and 3. That was another request of Commissioner Highsmith. I've made that change in the document that staff has, so we will have to come back for a specific plan.
On 1 and 3?
Yes, sir.
But not 2?
No, not 2.
And why is that?
Well, I think actually 2 is already requested. It was already, we already had 2. So it's just track 4 we won't. So in track 1, 2, and 3, we will come back.
Okay, so specific plans on 1, 2, and 3.
Yes, ma'am.
And 4 is the residential tract anyway.
Correct.
So
You'll see it at the
gets
plat.
platted.
That's right.
Right.
I do have someone who has signed up to speak. Oh, Ms. Swank, did you want to speak?
Ami Swank, 3601 North Classen. I just wanted to thank Mr. Box and his client for working with our client, and we fully support this PUD.
Thank you. Is there anybody else present that wants to be heard on this matter today? No? Commissioners?
I will make a motion to approve the application if there's no other discussion.
Second motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve item number 14 with the changes that we discussed with respect to specific plan and access onto 150th. Did we do that as a TE? Cast your votes, please. What else? Am I missing something? No? Okay. Cast your votes, please.
Thank you.
It is approved.
Item 15 is SPUD 1010 to rezone 1301 Northwest 16th Street from R1 to SPUD 1010.
Hello. Casey Thompson, 1301 Northwest 16th Street.
Go ahead.
All right. So we have spoke with JJ and ASA, and we believe we have come to a plan that all of you could support. We're in agreement. We agree with all the TE. Making sure I said that correctly.
There were just a few things that I had, and I admit that I was a little bit cross-eyed by the time I got to this item. Are we doing sidewalks on Klein or not?
Hi, Ken Fitzsimmons, test design architect with Casey. There is an existing sidewalk there. We'd propose that it remain, and if it's damaged, we're fine with replacing it.
Okay. Do I understand that the buildings will be, and I know that I don't think of the direction that the front door faces necessarily as dispositive of this question, but the buildings will be oriented toward 16th?
Correct. The site plan, the building to the south there, what we're proposing is it'll have a corner porch at the and/or a door that faces 16th Street, so it addresses both streets. We're trying to make it a corner, take advantage of that corner lot situation.
And tell me, just because I get a little confused when we start talking about that, we're going to maintain a setback of 25 feet off of 16th?
Correct.
No setback off of Klein?
Correct. That's what we would propose. The lot to the north of the alley currently has a spud that allows 0 setback on the Klein side, but 25 feet on the 17th Street side, so it's being consistent with that.
I mean, we're talking about really being able to put this building on the curb?
Well, the curb is actually, I can't remember the exact dimension, but it's 13 to 14 feet away from the property line.
Okay.
The center line of the street is 30 feet to the property line, and so the street's 26 feet, so I think it's about 13 feet away from the curb, the property line.
Okay. Okay. For the benefit of whoever it is that does this, I'll just say that if I never see another statement that something will be allowed detached or attached in any configuration ever again, I'll be very happy. So, is there anybody else who wants to be heard on this matter? Commissioners?
Where are the parking spaces? The 6 parking spaces?
Well, up to 6 parking spaces in the current. Correct. In the current site plan, what we're proposing is 2 garages, and so 4 of the cars would be taken care of in garages, 1 off the alley, 1 off Klein, and 2 of the spots for if there's apartments that are built as part of those homes, we'd propose those to be, we could find a spot for them off the alley again on the property, or they could use Klein Street.
But you don't have a setback off of the alley, do you? I mean, where would you put it physically?
Well, the garage would be potentially up to the alley, and the parking spots would be potentially each side of the alley, for example. the alley's 20 feet wide, the right-of-way for the alley. And the paved area currently is about 10 feet wide. So they'd be at least 5 feet away from the paved area
I see.
that you see now.
Okay.
I'd like to verify the conversation on the drive, just to be clear, because I felt like the latest drawing in this was just a little bit unclear. We've got the 12-foot max for the drive.
For the curb cut, yes. That's what we're proposing.
Yeah. But you've also got a 20-foot max there, and that corresponds with?
To the west of the sidewalk is what we're proposing. If the drive needed to widen, we would propose west of the sidewalk, correct?
Once on the property?
Yes.
Yep.
I think that was all my questions. Commissioners, are we still puzzling? Mr. Cravens, you don't look convinced.
Way to call me out. I get it. I mean, I get these are, I'm not sure we had 6 parking spaces. I guess, is it a concern from a staff perspective that we have parking spaces called out that don't really exist?
Well, I don't know.
If I may, the language is up to 6 parking spaces, so we just wanted to cover it in case we did need 6 parking spaces, we'd be able to allow them on the property. We may not need 6 parking spaces.
Yeah. I mean, these are essentially single-family dwelling units, right?
Yes. The current concept is essentially 2 single-family homes with an attached smaller apartment.
I will point out that the staff report makes reference to parking on Klein. That's not something we have any control over. I mean, on the one hand, you're allowed to park on a public street. On the other hand, if the Traffic Commission decides to, put up no parking here signs tomorrow, that will eliminate that, so.
And again, if I may address that, if as landlords here, they would obviously need to take care of parking. I mean, as an amenity, that would be something that would be in their interest to make sure that there is decent parking in some fashion.
I will make a motion to approve the application.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item number 15. Would you cast your votes, please? It is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Items 16, 17, and 18 were withdrawn. Item 19 is a new item, PUD SP 1372, for a specific plan of PUD 1372.
Good afternoon, David Box. One last time, 522 Colcord Drive, here on behalf of the applicant. This is a specific plan application pursuant to the underlying PUD, which is PUD 1372. The specific plan application you should have in your packet essentially all the documents we have submitted for building permit. It will be a floor and decor store, roughly 75,000 gross square feet. We do comply with all the elements required in the PUD in terms of parking, landscaping, architectural facades, et cetera. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Is there anybody present who wants to be heard on this item? No, there's not. This is one of those cases, if I recall, and I don't know whether you represented the applicant on this, when we saw this way back, initially it was thought that this would develop as a hotel, I think.
I'm not sure. That was long enough ago that my father was actually still practicing law, and he would have been here before the commission. I know that this PUD is fairly, has a pretty wide range of uses, but retail has been something that's really developed well out here, and frankly, where the location is, it's prime because of Yukon and Mustang, and hoping to attract some of those residents to spend their sales tax dollars within our city.
And the staff report notes that it's entirely consistent with the PUD, so. Commissioners?
I've got another random question for staff. So, and this is kind of a larger question that I've seen on a lot of the applications recently. Under the approved exterior materials, there is a line that says Drivet, D-R-I-V-E-T. And I would just like to understand what that material is. I tried to Google this, and if it's what I think it is, it might be misspelled, or...
It's an EIFS.
So,
Stucco
it's an EIFS product,
Right.
but on a lot of these, we see specifically, exterior 70% of these items, drive it listed. And then we've got a separate thing that says, and we will minimize EIFS. So it's kind of like we've got it in two categories.
You'll see that on some older PUDs. We don't use the drive it anymore. It's all refers to EIFS.
Okay.
My understanding has always been that the drive-it that you're seeing here is a cementitious product and not the EIFS-type product, which is why it falls under that 70% of masonry-type product.
Well, I think stucco would cover the idea of drive-it. Drive-it is a specific brand name, is my understanding. So if that's the case, EIFS is basically stucco on the insulated styrofoam. So that's kind of like the assembly, I guess. Anyway, I kind of feel like adding a drive-it in there.
This is just language from an old PUD.
Sure. I've seen it on a couple, and I just meant to bring it up. So I thought I would.
It's a term that's really not used anymore. The question I had about building materials was, it says exterior building wall finishes will be, and it says all that stuff, and then it says buildings finished with EIFS shall be permitted. So is that part of the 70 or is that part of the 30, the finished with? What does that mean?
I believe that's part of the 30.
Okay.
I know at building permit, which I think they actually applied for a permit and didn't realize they had the specific plan, which is why we're here. So I know that at building permit, they're going to have to provide detailed explanation of the materials to make sure they conform to that 70-30 split.
But it's consistent with what was approved within the PUD initially, right?
Right.
Yeah, I was just confused about where that fell, so, okay. Commissioners?
I will make a motion to approve the application.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item number 19. Would you cast your votes, please? It is approved.
Thank you.
Going back to item number 7, doesn't look like we have anybody here, but again, this is case ABC 908.
Next meeting is the 26th. Any opposition from anybody continuing it? If not, I'll make a motion to continue item number 7 to the October 26th Planning Commission meeting.
I have a motion and a second to continue item number 7 until the October 26th meeting. Would you cast your votes, please? It's continued.
That's all of our items.
So let me find my thing. So additional items, communications and reports. We don't have any planning commission committees at the moment.
We do, but we haven't met. But we did develop our committee for our new code update process, which is Mike.
Sorry, code update.
Commissioner Hensley, Highsmith, Powers, and is that it? That had volunteered for that. Basically, the code update process, it's going to take us several years getting through. We convened a committee, and the consultants came into town in August and presented some preliminary findings and recommendations to us, and they're getting ready to put all of those materials together so that we can distribute those back to the commission and the participants in that process. That's our update for the committee, but we have not reconvened the committee. We will do that once we issue an RFP to start our second phase, which is actually getting into the meat of the code update process.
And ballpark, when do you think that will happen?
Beginning of the year. Okay. Beginning of the year next year.
Okay. Planning Commission members, do any of you have anything you'd like to say or discuss?
Mike, welcome aboard.
Thanks.
Planning Department, Development Services Department, Municipal Counselor's Office.
Yes, ma'am. Before the meeting, I circulated a memo that I prepared a couple of years ago outlining the statutory authorization for the Planning Commission, and I just, since we had so many new commissioners, I recirculated this, so for everybody's information, if you have any questions, let me know. That's all.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Citizens to be heard? No. Other business? Are we ready to adjourn?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. Cast your votes. We're adjourned.